Welcome to this week's episode of The Better Half. I'm Kyndra de St, Aubin, and this is Katy Hartley, and we're going to take a look back at what's been going on this week.
Biggest local story is in college sports. Todd Graham being hired officially as the ASU Sun Devil football coach. He is the former head coach of Pittsburgh, but the national media is killing this guy and ASU about the signing. What do you think, Kyndra?
Well, and you know what? It's funny. The national media and the local media, I mean, when this broke, it was like everyone, first of all, who is this guy? I personally had no idea who Todd Graham was, and I don't know if I was in the minority. I mean, I think the majority of people didn't know, but I think it was totally justified. The way he handled this and just the way he's bounced around 4 places in 6 years, and you know, the way he sent out the text message. I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt with the text message, like, hey, let's get it out there before it's on Twitter so they can at least say they found out from me directly, and then I'll call a team meeting. But the fact that he just skipped town, didn't even call a team meeting, you know, never talked to his players face to face, I just think not surprising in college athletics nowadays, but I think they are right on with the criticism.
But how many coaches have we seen hired and fired and whatnot in the last couple weeks, and he just happens to be the only guy that let his team know by text message? And what he said 2 weeks ago about the assistant coaches who left to go work for Rich Rodriguez in Tucson for U of A, he called them mercenaries, and now look at you.
Well, and they said that literally, I saw some tweets that like the night before this happened, he was preaching about commitment to one of the players. So I think, you know, you just have to be a little bit careful. If you're looking to go somewhere else and you're going to jump ship at a moment's notice, then you should be kind of careful with your words. And the fact that yesterday in his press conference, he said exactly what he said in Pittsburgh 11 months ago. How do you go into a recruit's living room and convince them that you're committed to the program and there to stay 4 or 5 years? I mean, 2 years, 3 years. He's been leaving places less than a year or a year later. So I don't know how he's going to be as a coach, but I think the way it was handled, actually this kind of takes the attention off of ASU and their debacle of a coaching search, because it's all been on Graham and how he handled it.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that turns out. More football stuff. Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals, not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs just yet. However, Kyndra, do you think they have a realistic chance of making it to the postseason?
I don't think they're going to make it to the postseason, but as you said, mathematically not eliminated yet. But if they can even just get back to 500, and I think they will end over 500 with the way their schedule wraps up. I think they may only lose to the Bengals on the road, might be their only loss left of the season. But this is a huge win for them, the way this season is ending. And we were talking before, I think it's better for them to start as a disaster and end on a positive note than the other way around, than start on a 5-6 game winning streak and end with 6 losses or whatever, because that's what fans are going to remember. Instead, fans are going to be excited, and they're going to remember that, you know, this team maybe has something to look forward to next year with an actual offseason.
Right, and to end the season 9-7, that means they'd have to win out, so they would have to win the next 3 games. They host the Browns this weekend, then they travel to Cincinnati, and then they come back home for the last game to play the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think they're going to win that game. You think they're going to lose on the road. And with the rest of the competition in the NFC, I just don't see the Cardinals coming as the second wild card spot.
Yeah, I think 8-8 actually is probably a little more realistic for how they're going to end up. But who do you think, you know, is going to be the starting quarterback at the end of the season?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Skelton.
No matter what, or like by default because Cobb's hurt? I don't know.
No matter what. I mean, I'll have to see what happens in the next couple of games.
I mean, because Cobb had a pretty sweet performance. I think it was against the Cowboys.
Okay, I thought we weren't going to talk about that, Kyndra.
I just had to throw that in there.
Well, you think the Cardinals are improved this year. Let's talk NBA for a second. The most improved NBA teams, and the season hasn't even started yet, but lots of good trades, lots of good stuff to talk about. Chris Paul, of course, we'll see now him in a Clippers uniform this year.
Which I think is exciting. I mean, first of all, it's great for the city of Los Angeles and for the Clippers, because finally something to brighten up the Clippers after the Lakers just dominate the environment there. So I love that the Clippers got him. I think that is a huge plus for them with Blake Griffin. I think it's going to be really exciting. And not to be a homer, but I kind of think maybe the T-Wolves are a very improved team. And Ricky Rubio finally deciding to come over. I mean, he finally decided to grace us with his presence and come and play here. And, of course, they have Derek Williams, a fan favorite of Arizona. So with Kevin Love, I think they've got some pieces. I think the Timberwolves could maybe get back on the market here.
The thing with the Clippers, it kind of reminds me of the Heat last year. Like, oh, my God, they're so good now. It's like, everybody just calm down. We haven't even seen them all play together. I actually like the way that the Bulls have been kind of quiet this offseason. They signed veteran Richard Hamilton this week. So I like the Bulls. I think they did great in the playoffs last year. You know, we didn't see them in the championship game, but I think being quiet in the offseason isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Well, and you know they're going to be hungry after the way they wrapped up last season. I think they were embarrassed. You know, Derrick Rose getting MVP, and I heard from someone that he didn't leave his house for like over a week after they lost. So I think, you know, the Bulls could definitely be one to watch out for.
Yeah, we'll see. And we'll have more Suns news next week. So until then, follow her on Twitter at Kyndra620. You can follow me at FunKatie620. We'll see you next week for another webisode of The Better Half.